Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Chat and Chill with Providence Hill. We're so excited to have local legend over here, Vance Harmon, the athletic director at Douglas South Hall Freeman High School. So we're super pumped to have you, and obviously we got Dawson Boyer riding shotgun. Also class of 2004.
That's right.
At DSF.
The greatest institution in Central Virginia.
Absolutely. Well, I would say that I'm kind of like an eagle between, two mavericks, if you will.
Yeah.
Because I obviously did not go to DSF. I went to Mills Godwin, the best school in the West End, but
the far West End.
The far West End. That's right. Okay, fair enough. All right. Well, we're super excited to have you join us today, and one of the things here at Providence Hill that we love is the community, the local community, and really we feel like we've been put here especially to kind of be a part of this community. And so we live here in this neck of the woods. My kids will go to Freeman. His kids will probably go to Freeman. A lot of the agents in our office, kids will go to Freeman as well. So there's a real heart for the school, as much as I joke about Godwin, but there is a heart for the school. And, we love the athletic department there. We love the academics there. We love the whole thing. So we're super excited to be a partner with y'all. And we'll be announcing kind of more partnerships as we go with Freeman, but we definitely want to be a big part of y'all's success moving forward. And we know athletics are a big part of the community and a big part of their success. But what I wanted to do was really introduce you. Vance and I have been friends for a long time. In a previous career, I coached basketball, and unfortunately, I never beat Vance when we coached, but he was able enough to, not take it too hard on me, but,
Yeah, you're kind to say that. You had a lot of talent, and we were fortunate to pull them out, but those were some exciting games, I can tell you that.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you saying that. That's very kind of you. But I guess with all the talent, it wasn't the coach was the problem. But
I didn't say that.
Anyway, it's all good. You didn't have to. All right. With that being said, Vance, tell us a little bit about your story, because you went to Freeman.
Correct.
You're now back there as the athletic director after a really great stint as a high school basketball coach here in the area, and kind of intertwine and interweave that story as well. But tell us a little bit about your background and how you started in athletics and obviously as a student at Freeman and things like that.
Well, I guess I'll try and keep it somewhat short, but having graduated from Freeman in 1990,
okay.
And like you guys have talked about the community being a big deal. I mean, I grew up down Three Chop Road in Pinedale Farms.
Yeah.
Went to Tucko Middle School, went to Freeman, played baseball for Ken Moore, who's the father of Ray Moore, who just happened now to win the first state baseball championship in school history.
It's got to be nice to have that on your old man.
Exactly. Yeah, right. I mean, now the old man, Coach Moore, cuts all the yard and takes care of the maintenance for.
So he's got a part in the state championship.
Well, and his name is on the field, so I'd say a thumbprint for sure is there.
That's right.
Played baseball for Coach Moore. Played basketball for Coach Larry Parpert.
Gosh, what a bunch of legends.
Yeah, I mean those guys. They're again, the foundation of the community, really, as far as the coaches go.
Right. Yeah.
And certainly you start throwing some other names around like Bill Long, who kind of was the father really of, if there was a Mount Rushmore for Freeman, without a doubt, he would be front and center of that. But certainly flanking him would be Ken Moore and Larry Parpert on there somewhere as well. So I had a great experience playing basketball and baseball for those two gentlemen. Had some real good teams, lots of pretty good players. Basketball-wise, after Freeman, graduated and had the opportunity to go to Virginia Union University, where Division II school right down on Lombardi Street.
Yep.
Probably most famous for producing players like Charles Oakley, Terry Davis, and Hall of Famer Ben Wallace. Mm-hmm. Great individuals. We had an enormous amount of individual talent, but our strength was in our team. Our team was able to win the 1992 national championship, which was a pretty cool deal.
Unbelievable.
I mean, to be a part of a state championship is really cool. To be a part of a national championship is, even more exciting, really. So played for Hall of Fame coach Dave Robbins there, who's in the Basketball Hall of Fame. So that was a cool deal. Came out of Virginia Union and decided before that I was going to get into teaching and coaching. So I got my, teach career started at Tucker High School.
Okay.
Go Tigers.
Yeah.
So
shout out for the Tigers.
I've got kind of the West End thing going on with having gone to Freeman. I student taught at Godwin.
There you go. Okay.
Probably not too far, probably a little before Elliott got there, actually, because I'm that much older than Elliott. 94, I student taught there.
I started there in 94, but you probably would have finished. Well, I don't know. Maybe you were there when I was there.
Well, I student taught for Coach Bill Browning and Ron Excel.
Yeah.
So you talk about some other two.
Coach Excel, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. And Ron was one of my teachers, I think, 10th or 11th grade.
Yeah, legendary dudes there.
What a great guy.
completely.
Yeah.
And then his grandchildren are great athletes for Freeman. The Raider boys,
Yep.
3 of them.
Yep.
Right. Well, his daughter Betsy is a Raider too.
That's right.
So long.
Not Alley Raiders, but
Correct.
the Raiders.
Yeah. R-A-D-E-R.
Yeah, I got you.
So then got started teaching at Tucker and coaching there, golf, basketball, tennis, and Elliott. That's probably where the link started. Elliott upgrades the golf program by taking it over for me when we finished there. So then
and the tennis program. I took over both of those, Jimmy.
He did, and arguably or debatably, he upgraded him in many ways.
Sure.
It depends who you ask. And then Chris Brown worked with him there, longtime basketball coach. Fast forward a little bit, go to Henrico High School, where I coached and taught there for 18 years, and we had a plethora of talent. I mean, just a lot of great individuals, and we're lucky enough as a program, or was lucky enough as a program, to win the first state championship, and then followed it up a couple years later, 1 in 13 and 1 in 15.
Yeah.
So now I get to the back end of my career. The Freeman AD job comes open, which it comes open once every about 45 years, probably.
Right.
That's right.
In the 67 years of Freeman, you had Bill Long, Jim Sankson, who did it
forever.
for 40 plus
Yeah,
years.
right.
Coach Drew Bright, who legendary wrestling coach there.
Hall of Famer.
Correct.
Golf coach, too.
And
One
golf
point.
coach.
Yeah.
A lot of common things going on.
yeah.
And then Suzanne Criswell was my predecessor. So when that job came open, with the stage of my career, my family lives still in the in the zone right off 3 Chop to Tucko. So again, community.
Right.
Going back to it, a big part to come back. And fortunately, our kids and our family love Freeman and the Tucko as much as I did and do.
Sure.
So that's kind of where we are. And now I'm in my second year being an AD at Douglas Freeman.
That's great. That's great. Well, what we'd love to hear is just what kind of brought you to the idea of coming back home, being the AD. Obviously, you were very successful basketball. I think you might be underselling me. Obviously, you talked about some of the state championships, but I was so fortunate enough to watch you guys up front, close and personal, playing you multiple times. You've allowed me to come to practice before and see what y'all do. And it's a really, Vance is being very humble, but he was a very good high school basketball coach and just a very good basketball coach. So obviously, I know you're a competitive guy. You love hoops, but you gave that up to be the AD at Freeman. Obviously, some of it is you're coming home. So tell us a little bit about the first year as the Freeman athletic director. What were some of the things that you learned, some things you didn't know about? You're like, oh, man, I didn't know about this learning curve, or just kind of talk about that first year on the job.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was like everything, probably timing is so much of life.
Right.
And again, had this job come open at Freeman 10 years prior to me being where I was in my career, I don't think I would have considered it.
Right.
I would have considered it for the Freeman aspect, but not for, and I still wasn't ready and not ready to give basketball up because it's still in my DNA.
Sure.
But I knew that if I didn't jump on this opportunity, that I probably wouldn't get another one before I decided to hang it up.
Once every 46 years.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. I don't think you're.
Law of averages probably might come around again.
Right.
So with that said, when the DSA job came open, it certainly was an opportunity to not only impact what I thought was the athletic department, but kind of the school in general.
Right.
With it kind of trying to maybe rebrand Freeman, so to speak. I mean, I guess it was.
They're going through that right now. Yeah.
Correct. When Freeman, I know Dawson, was a Freeman rebel.
Yeah.
I was a Freeman rebel, and still will be. And I think, depending on who you talk to, most of us will, with the exception of these classes that are coming along now,
Right.
will be Mavericks. And it is what it is. But now it's time for Freeman to kind of hit that Freeman 2.0 with the Mavericks and kind of put ourselves back out there again in the community with where we are and who we are and what we're about.
Yeah.
So it was an exciting opportunity to do that. And Freeman's obviously highly successful in a lot of sports. Every sport is really very successful, but it happens that our spring sports have just been on fire the past few years, with the girls tennis team winning now back-to-back state championships,
Wow.
which no girls team had ever done or program in the history of Freeman. That goes back to 1954. And not to be upended by that, here come the girls lacrosse team a week later,
Right.
wins back-to-back state championships.
Right.
So between the girls lacrosse, girls tennis, and then here, and it was a great Saturday in June because up at Riverside High School in Loudoun,
Right.
that's where the Jubilee was, the state championship. Here you had on the baseball field, we knocked off Glen Allen to win a state championship, first one, as I mentioned, in school history,
Right.
which was huge. And then 30 minutes later, the lacrosse game's going on literally across the field or the complex,
Right.
and you get to see another piece of history being made.
Right.
So I mean, just some really, and then not to be forgotten is our boys' #1 doubles team wins the state championship. So 4 state championships in a season had never been done at Freeman. So that's a lot of talented players and coaches and a lot of togetherness and teamwork, which makes Providence Hill so great. It's that team part.
That's right. Absolutely. Well, what would you say? I mean, so you talked a little bit about the players. Obviously, you have to have good players, right? I can remember sitting in high school and recruiting gyms when I was coaching college basketball and sitting with coaches, and they'd say, Elliott, it ain't about the X's and O's, about the Jimmies and Joes. And you got to have good Jimmies and Joes.
Absolutely.
Obviously, you've had some really talented coaches that are working with you, and I always thought of it as athletic director's job is to kind of be, I don't know, the coach for all the coaches. I mean, your job is to kind of pour into them and help them see the bigger picture with their programs. I mean, I remember coaching, sometimes you get so frustrated with what's going on and you forget the bigger picture.
Right.
And so I think as an athletic director, the ones that I've worked for have been really good to me to say, hey, let's do the bigger picture here. Like, let's not focus on just this one thing. Don't get me wrong, we need to correct that thing, whatever it is. But let's look at the bigger picture of what you're trying to accomplish here. And so you have that role now, and you could be a part of that. That's got to be a fun and rewarding thing for you, I would imagine.
It is fun. It's not quite as rewarding as actually being on the floor and going through that daily grind and preparation of getting ready for practice and for games and fall league and summer league and scouting. I mean, that part of it is just, I don't know if there's anything that can replace that piece.
Right.
But from my seat of an activities director or athletic director, of trying to kind of be in full support mode of other programs and teams, I think it probably lends them, again, that look at the big picture of, hey, sometimes I'm just there to listen and come to my office and vent, going about the referees last night or something just, on the court, off the court, whatever the case may be, and just as an ear to listen, because sometimes, as you said, you get caught up really in all the daily minutia that you kind of lose focus of, okay, what are we in it for? Well, we're in it for the kids really to have a great experience and have fun.
Right.
Now let's work backwards from there. Understand that if you're not enjoying things, Elliott or Dawson, to kind of make sure that we're all really at the root of it trying to get something positive accomplished, maybe it's time to step back a little bit.
Right.
And just reevaluate.
Yeah.
So just kind of be, and as well, you'd like to hope that as you go into bigger games or postseasons or been there, done that with playing in some of these events and the preparation piece. But I'm also very careful. If you ask, then I'm happy to share. But if you don't ask, it's your program. I'm there again to support you. And if that means I need to go out and get you laundry detergent or mop the floor for you, I'll be happy to do it.
Right.
Because whatever can make your job easier. So that's kind of the role I've taken. I'm not there to try and say, this is the way to do it and this is how you do it. That was never my intention.
Right. Well, obviously, unbelievable first year.
Yeah.
Multiple state championships in the first year. That's got to be a fun, christening and end of the year for you. Kind of a nice stamp on, I made the right decision. I've come, and it's been a really fun ride for you, I imagine. So, but what's cool is, or maybe not so cool, is you got to back it up the following year, right?
The bar has been set.
The bar's right high.
Yeah. I don't know where. Yeah, you hope you can keep climbing the bar, and that will be the goal to do that.
Yeah.
So we'll see what's going to happen from that. And look, it's funny because in convocation last year, our principal, Dr. Marshall, asked me to speak in convocation, which was a huge honor.
Yeah.
And I even put the challenge out to the guys sports teams in convocation in October of what now would be 21. Said, hey, look, guys, you're on the clock. The ladies won state championships last year. It's time to step up.
Right.
Now, and to their credit, they did step up. They got one.
Right.
The girls just outdid them again by doubling them up. But still, I mean, that was just a great experience.
Yeah, that's cool. Sure. So, it's funny. I remember in my experiences, my first year at Lebanon Valley, we had a really good recruiting class and produced some good players from that. And I just remember, it's my first one and I'm so invested in these guys. I've spent a lot of time, energy, and effort recruiting these guys. And I just remember Coach, what do you think? Really great recruiting class. Yeah. He's celebrate tonight and then start on the next year tomorrow morning. There's just no, that's the hard part about sports is you have a great year and it's all right, well, let's get back on the gym and back on the courts and back on the fields because we got to do it again next year. And
I would agree with that. And in order to practice what I preach to the whole, if you don't take some time to kind of step back and say, you know what, you can't take the whole year off. Nobody's implying that. But if you can step back away and say, you know what, you've worked your tail off and you've got something special. now, because who knows if it'll ever happen again. You hope it will, but you're not sure that it will. Then, take some time to kind of take your victory lap, so to speak.
Yeah, that's right.
And after you do, then let's figure out what you can do now to get back to where you were and even beyond. And that, to me, that's the real fun and challenge.
Right.
Winning the first, they say it's easier probably to win the first one. It's harder to come back and then keep building that. I mean, that's
Everyone's watching you now.
absolutely. And everybody thinks they have the blueprint once you do it one time.
Right.
That's right. That's right. Well, so obviously we're starting to look towards fall sports. And my business partner over here was a star athlete at Freeman, played football there. And so tell us a little bit about your time at Freeman as a football player and back in the early 00s, if you will.
Yeah, that was a generous description there of my career on the gridiron.
Yeah.
But, it was JV football with Coach Ken Moore. Ray Moore was a year ahead of me. So he was our quarterback, when I was a freshman, then when I was a junior. And he and George Gray split time their senior year at quarterback. And, it was just a great time. My memories around that are just the camaraderie, the teammates, the friendships. To me, I don't, Freeman's the only high school I went to, but a lot of my buddies I'm still in touch with are friends from Freeman, and then even inside of that, predominantly the guys that I played football with and then, ran track with and those sorts of things. But, I was there when Dr. Pruden came as the principal and kind of started the Freeman family mantra. And I think just going back to community and trying to, create a culture of everyone being in it together, especially in, coming out of middle school, which can be really hard for a lot of kids. And then, high school is also this kind of, first part adjusting out of middle school life and then thinking about the future of what your life's going to be. And, I just always great coaches, great mentors, great teachers. And so I think it's excited to now, because my kids are still a few years away from high school, but kind of those fun memories you made and had. And then, seeing Coach Ray Moore there, seeing, Chapin George, he was a freshman when I was a senior, so we played football together.
Who's our boys basketball coach?
Yeah, exactly. And then, getting to know you and heard your name forever, because we'd be like, Elliott, who could you just never beat? Who was that one guy? And then Vance, and so, so it's just fun to get reconnected with the community in different ways and kind of run across people. And then just, again, like I said, then I was at an event with my kids and Coach Ray Moore was there, and this was a couple weeks ago. And it's like, hey, congrats on the state championship. You had and he's so quiet and humble. He's just like, thanks.
Right.
The boys played well. And I'm like,
classic coach speak.
Right. And it was, so just love that legacy piece too.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
And I think that's one great part, again, going back to the whole community feel of, not that Godwin and Deep Run don't have that community feel, for example, but Freeman, I think, being unique, built in 1954, you have, it's not uncommon to have multiple generations have gone through Freeman and still have fond memories of the whole place. And unfortunately, the building, the footprint is still there. I'd like to see it kind of, again, refaced or maybe rebuilt, so to speak. But still, that's there, and they're not many schools outside maybe some of your older private schools that can kind of say, like, hey, my mom went there, my grandparent or aunt or uncle, and that's one thing that makes it pretty special to me too.
Yeah, I met a couple recently in the neighborhood over here, and they, the husband was the first class that went all the way through, and then his kids went there, and his grandkids are there right now. So it's speaking to that piece, and the Von Beckmans who work with us went there, their daughter went there, and I think it's really cool. I really appreciate that about Richmond and Freeman.
It's so funny. My mom grew up in this neck of the woods, and actually, I was talking to my grandmother today, and she's still alive, 96, still getting it done. But they still live in the same house they lived in since 1957 and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, it was zoned for Freeman.
Okay.
Up until the point in which Tucker got built.
Which was 62, I believe.
Yeah, and so she grew up. I want to go to Freeman. I want to, be a Freeman Rebel at that time and all that kind of stuff. And then Tucker got built, and she got zoned for Tucker. And she was so bummed. She really wanted to be a part of that community because she had heard so many good stories about it, had grown up wanting to be a part of the Freeman family, if you will, and that kind of thing. So she ended up being a Tucker Tiger. But yeah, there was definitely a great legacy. And when I was at Godwin, obviously there's a rivalry there with you all, but to me, it always felt like a lot of respect. It was a healthy rivalry, and it was fun playing you guys, and that was a big deal. And all the communities would come out, and it was a big deal. Obviously, Godwin was built in 1980, so a much younger school, if you will, but still been around a while now. But that was a fun rivalry, and those were some good times, and hopefully those things are still staying true, those traditions and rivalries.
Yeah, and I think if you probably talk to most Freeman folks now, you're really, like you said, your friendly rival, the one that kind of everybody comes to the games and you want to win, is Godwin, for sure.
Yeah.
Deep runs, kind of more new money as far as the ride. They haven't quite maybe burst on. There's definitely a lot of combative play.
That's right.
It's done in all respect. But again, it's just that, Godwin and Freeman, and to a different extent, Tucker and Freeman too, because that was kind of.
There's definitely an old school legacy there too.
Yeah, you battle for the Regency food court.
That's
right. Who could puff their chest out, wear the T-shirt or leather jacket.
That's right.
Roll up in whatever one of the great steak escape was or whatever, the food court.
Yeah, when Friendly's was there.
Yeah, Friendly's, right.
Running over to Daryl's.
Yeah, that's right. Run to Daryl's.
Wow, flashback.
There we go.
Well, cool. Well, obviously, we've already talked about it, but year two's upon us.
Yes.
And so talk about what's going on in the fall and what do you have going on, and maybe give us some kind of updates on the teams that are playing, things like that.
Yeah, so kind of piggybacking where I was before, the constant deal that one of my goals has been to constantly reface and rebrand certain components of Freeman. Kind of last year started with the interior of the gym and doing some kind of upgrades there, and now I've kind of moved it to the stadium piece where on the outside of the press box. So we just made a partnership deal with Nike this past year, which Dawson and I were talking about VMI, how they was really maybe not branding what is a big a deal back, when he was in school, but now it is. And so really where you see the swoosh, you'll see a lot of the blue and the gray of Freeman.
Sure.
So we got in the press box, kind of a big banner on there, got in windscreen. And again, to your point, Dr. Pruden, and with the Freeman family mantra, got windscreen, Freeman family, marching Mavericks, student section. And the student section that stood the test of time too.
Right.
Sure.
I mean, from the Letterman, back in the day, the Letterman would have their shirts off and the Freeman or Rebels painted across their chest.
Sure.
Now I believe it's Maverick Man now.
Yeah.
So that's kind of part of that deal too. So trying to get those things up and going with the whole Freeman kind of spirit. Fall sports have started, as you said, with tryouts started this past week. Football's right around the corner. The first game is August 26th at Prince George. Okay. Was originally supposed to be at Freeman, but their turf renovation kind of enabled them to play a game there. Okay. Of course, we have volleyball, both boys and girls, varsity and JV. Okay. Our first athletic teams to hit the field will be golf, led by Ray Moore, who will be taking over the golf program.
He needs to give Elliott a call, get some coaches notes.
You got two former golf coaches right here.
Yeah, a lot of good tips I can add.
That job really was probably like a lottery, instead of people ought to be paying me to get that golf job, because you go out to the Richmond Country Club and get to practice and play golf. So
it was a great gig.
Not too tough of a
tough gig.
An assignment there.
We were playing at Dominion Club when I was at Tucker back in the day, so we had it pretty well.
Yeah.
Elliott kind of, I don't think he got to be at a country club. Maybe
we went to Jefferson Lakeside.
I thought y'all were at putt-putt.
Yeah.
Well, Lakeside let him in.
Yeah, Lakeside was this.
So anyway, so we're getting going. Golf be the first one. Cross country, of course. Sideline cheer, comp cheer.
Yeah.
I don't think field hockey, of course, which shares the stadium with football.
Okay.
So we have varsity and JV field hockey led by Coach Cassie Perez, and that's been wildly popular. And my understanding is we've got a little core of field hockey players kind of rising through the ranks at Tucko.
Oh, cool! That's great.
I expect our field hockey program will start maybe elevating to one of the top two or three teams in the region here pretty shortly.
Well, that's great, Coach. That's awesome.
So exciting.
So it sounds like you guys got a lot of great things going on this fall, and I have nothing but respect for you and the way you've always done things, and I have no doubt that Freeman's going to be in a really good spot for a long time, as long as you want to be the
46 years.
Yeah. Well, you got to do it for 46 years.
I don't know if I can make it quite that long, but day by day, year by year. But I tell you, one thing that hasn't changed at Freeman is just the enthusiasm of the turnout that we hit. I think I did the numbers the other day, and we had close to 1,000 students participated from fall, winter, spring. Now that's not 1,000 different students.
Yeah, right.
It's like 700 different students, but participated in multiple things. But the drive is still there. And one of the things I'm very proud of too is how our coaching staff does a great job of encouraging people to play other sports.
Right.
And that's kind of gone the way of the dodo.
It really has. And,
Really has.
it's that now once you specialize in this or that, and our coaches are very good about, hey, look, you might run cross country in the fall, but you know what? Why don't you give basketball a try, or swimming, or wrestling? And if you can't do that, do something to participate.
Right.
Get involved. And to that end, in addition to having basically 35 teams from all the sports programs, we have upwards of 80 or 90 clubs and activities at Freeman.
Awesome.
So speaking from an extracurricular standpoint, there's a lot of opportunity for, the school certainly is important from 9 to 4, but for kids like me back in the day,
right.
I mean, I lived from 4 o'clock on.
Right.
Outside of PE class and lunchtime,
Right.
my focus was on, on that stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
So, I mean, but you got to figure out a way to if you can reach everybody and make people feel included and important and a part of it, which they are, then it's a pretty cool deal.
That's awesome.
Well, cool. Well, Vance, thanks so much for being here. Take your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
We, like I said, we look forward to being in this community for a long time and being part of what y'all are doing at DSF, and want to support y'all in any way we can. And obviously, you'll see us at a bunch of games.
Good. Well, it really is huge. It's not just speak to say, you're part of the community. You're in the community. Your business is there.
Yeah.
And, you guys come to games, and your families come to games. And that's, you're putting your money where your mouth is. And that's, I think people realize that. And when you're putting the sweat equity into it, it makes a big difference in my book.
Yeah, appreciate it. Well, once again, thanks so much.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, for being here. We really do appreciate it. Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Chat and Chill with Providence Hill. We really appreciate it. We're obviously bringing y'all some really great content, and we're going to keep trying to bring stuff that you guys will enjoy listening to and watching, if you will. So if there's anything or anybody you think we should interview or talk to, feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to hear about that. And also just follow us on all of our social media sites on Providence Hill Instagram account, as well as on Facebook. And if you have any questions about real estate, come find us. We'd love to talk to you. Have a great one.